like the Loch Ness monster, Ryan Reynolds. He keeps on coming back. He just doesn't go away. Oh shit, we're breathing.
Are we live?
You're joking.
We'll do it live.
This man's not joking. Oh my goodness, you
He's
have
not?
one job. No, he's not joking.
Oh my, and that Ryan Reynolds brand.
How long have we been live?
About 10 seconds. This is fucking Jack.
Oh, okay.
We're back
That's
out
nice.
of the ghastly hallows. Fuck Ryan Reynolds. And
Oh
here
my
I'm
goodness.
accompanied by.
You take this one. you take this
All right, well, this is Red. Hi. Hello, everyone.
I'm still struggling to find the will to live right now to do this. This is bolt whatever. I can't right now. Where's my lawyer?
Are you in a place
I can confirm
surrounded
that
by
is your-
family and that loves you, people that care about you for the most part?
No.
I'm sorry.
That's-
Why don't you in switch places with me? Nobody loves me out here.
I don't hate myself that much. You have what an 11-year-old boy that you can relate to. That's the only appealing thing about the state that you're in. That's just a lot about the state of this worthless country right now. You know, let me stop. Let me stop.
Yeah, we don't go into politics out here.
This isn't
Unless the
politics. This is
politics
life.
off- Unless the politics
life.
off fuck Ryan Reynolds, I don't want to hear it. Oh man. So anybody
Okay,
knows
well,
I'm
so what
sensitive.
state are you in? Well, what state are you in, Jack?
I am in Missouri, and I am miserable.
It's right there in the name of the state. I didn't say that. I apologize to our very active and devoted audience in the state of Missouri.
Look, people.
Okay, see, that apology went out the window when you pronounced that thing intentionally wrong.
Hey, no.
No, that's how they pronounce it
That's
here.
correct. That's correct. In the state of Missouri, that's right.
Missouri.
The older folks call it Missouri.
This is why old people don't have a say anymore. They shouldn't
What?
have a say.
Where the hell have you been?
I mean, there's no age ceiling on voting. So.
It should be. Old people need to be put down on the ground.
oh, see,
Stop
I didn't
taking
say
up
that shit.
real estate.
That sounds like something that would come out of me. That came out of the robot. Everybody heard that.
Mhm.
That sounds like something I would say.
So I'll add that to the Bolt is a robot mythology. I mean, it's right in his name, Bolt. Nuts and bolts. Come on, it's right
Yeah,
there.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, when do robots care for old things? They die.
Well-
they make way for new things.
So I would like to mention, though, that the three of us are representing three separate time zones.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
This wasn't on purpose.
So we
My time zone is in hell.
It actually wasn't, but
The time zone I have is in hell. And
I call purgatory.
some folks are in the Midwest around here, and some
Yeah.
folks are on the East Coast. The beautiful,
Mhm.
beloved East Coast that I miss every day. I'm like that meme of Wolverine where he's looking at a picture sitting on the bed. That's me with the picture of
Mm.
my wife
The New York
and
skyline.
the Empire State Building. I miss it. Fuck this place. Give me your money, but fuck this place. Yes. So, since I'm not
Alright.
currently around,
Well-
will the captain of this one please lead us into today's subject?
Okay, well, this was going to be the introduction to the episode before we realized that we were prematurely live. But okay, just pretend like the podcast is starting. Pretend like you haven't heard any of this. Okay. Captain's log, stardate 10368.2. The Ghastly Hallows podcast will discuss the subject of dark science, the moments when man's exploration of the cosmos reveals truths that terrify, disturb, and unsettle. This is Red, and today I'm pleased to be joined by. Introduce yourselves again.
I
There we
am
go.
Pumpkin Jack, the guy who
I
hates
am-
where he's at and hates Ryan Reynolds.
You hate everything. I am Bolt, and yeah, I don't currently hate everything, just selected things. Like a reasonable person.
I think that vaguely suggests some level of psychological
Don't worry
help.
about it.
But
Don't worry about it, Red. You're not a psychologist today.
Well, hold up. Well, actually, I sort of will be. So, but you'll see.
I'm calling for your certifications to be
He is
examined and
only-
questioned
the only
right
one
now.
who's an expert in half of the stuff that we're about to mention. He's
I
also
am
the
by
expert
no
that can
means-
help me navigate this shithole that I'm currently in. Yeah.
I'm by no means an expert. I am a dork, but not an expert.
You just discredit yourself after some guy literally gassed you up.
Compared to where the two of us are, sir, you are the expert around here, not me.
Fine.
Who handles
Fine.
animals every other day? Well, was handling animals.
I'll just sketch out some fake credentials on a piece of loose leaf paper, and we can post that.
Sure, if you go get it notarized, it's about as official as what they give you for graduation.
I'll have my bearded dragon notarize it.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
I like that guy. He's cool.
Okay. He's a cool guy. Yeah. Okay, but today we are discussing creepy science. Sometimes there are scientific findings that the researchers or the world at large find disturbing or unsettling. And that's the sort of thing we're going to be talking about. Do you guys have your stuff picked out?
Yes, teacher.
All right. All right. Pass it up.
And I just have to pull my stuff out because I did my homework well in advance.
All right.
Nerd.
You know what? I accept that around here. I would leave this horrible place if I were a nerd. So, two things I found out about, but I'll bring up the first one.
Yeah. Let's go around. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
All
Where
right.
I'm at, this actually seems to be like an actual threat to people in states in the Midwest and in the southern Midwest area. So, if you own a potato basket, right, it is actually in your best interest to always open it up and clean out the old rotten potatoes and make sure that it gets properly ventilated. And even then, when it's ventilated, you just don't want to leave rotting potatoes around in general, because when potatoes start to rot, right, they sprout mushrooms.
Oh, yes.
And these things, what that happens is if they're enclosed in any area, they let out this gas, which after a little bit of time with compression, it can actually be very poisonous and can kill someone because of the gas is pretty much like, to my understanding, almost like methane levels of poisonous.
Wow.
So there's actually been a few cases, actually in the South, because this is where it gets the hottest. Some people have potato baskets, right? Because like you don't need to. The way you store potatoes is you put them in like cold, dark places or whatever, or just dark, out of the way places to not let the sun hit them. They don't wilt. But some people will have a basket, and then before even finishing the basket, they'll just pour more potatoes over the first batch. And then some kid will come and look into the basket and inhale the gas, pass out, and then have to go to the hospital.
Wow.
In Poland, there was a case where a family, 2 people died, and I think there were 3 survivors. But when the firemen found out what was happening, they had to actually go and get the gas masks on to get the other 3 out, because the 2 parents passed out or something in the basement, because like in Russia and Eastern Europe somewhere, they stack the potatoes in the basement, and like, it's cold, so no animal's gonna really want to burrow in there, so they can leave it there all they want. But when they opened the door, the fumes went up into the living room and started killing people. So,
Oh gosh.
potatoes can kill you. Thoughts?
Well, good thing I'm fresh out of potatoes. Keep the potatoes away. Yeah, the way that if you leave them for a while, they can sprout. They start growing appendages, even though they're not in the ground, they're in your kitchen. It's like, okay, you're supposed to stop growing now. You're no longer a thing. You're just waiting to be eaten. But no, they like develop this like horrific Cthulhu like nature. Just
No, it's actually really weird with that family, right? Plants is gonna sound really boring in agriculture, like you're back in biology, but it's something you should everybody should keep an eye out on.
Mhm.
Uh, when you don't watch these things and they're allowed to keep growing, these things are intense. Uh, there's a channel I like to watch called Decaying Midwest on Instagram.
Now you're living it, but go
Living it every day.
ahead.
Anyways, so I've seen that like sometimes they pull open the fridge and wherever the potatoes go in the fridge, you kind of see that that thing is pushed out, which makes
Mm.
me wonder like if you were to leave that thing alone, the potato could in essence grow and eat out the fridge. If not, make its way out of the fridge with enough time.
Right.
Like it's crazy. Like you're sitting there like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, there's the trope in cartoons of when some object becomes like moldy or ridden with bacteria, the object comes alive. So like the sock crawling on the ground, or like the pineapple that's so rotten that it sprouts legs, that kind of thing. That doesn't actually happen in reality, but with potatoes it gets pretty close.
So there actually was one vegetable that creeped us well the hell out.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was an onion,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah, they do
my
something like that too.
my parents left an onion in the far back of the fridge. Right, this is when I was in college. My ex was staying over, and she pretty much like helps us clean out the oven. She's helping me clean out the stove, and to the far back, we find this onion that now looks like an octopus. Buried behind a lot of new food, and this thing was like just branching extra branches. I look at her and I'm like, "Do you want to plant it in the dirt and see what happens?" She's like, "Hell no, we're gonna burn that thing and kill it with fire."
before it grows before it grows the intelligence of an octopus.
Part of me wanted to do the
Uh,
thing and just like wrap it around my face and be like, "Look, it's a face hugger." Ah!
uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah.
my, you're
Go
literally
back to
playing with
last
an
week's episode.
octopus.
Yeah. All right. So, demon vegetables. I like it. Bolt, you want to go next?
All right, since we're just to kind of keep in theme with horrific food facts, I'm gonna bring up pineapples. So, so pineapples, not as scary as potatoes, they are known as a food source of bromelain, a combination of enzymes that digest protein. So, oh, and for those who are like avid cooking lovers, this is why pineapple works best as a meat tenderizer, because it breaks down the protein and softens the meat. So on the surface, you would think, oh, bromelain is something that it basically eats away at protein cells. So you would think, oh, is pineapple a type of food that can eat you out from the inside? Yeah, if you were to read the first or second link that you would get from Google, yes, that's what it will definitely tell you. Now, am I here to promote being fearful of pineapples? Yes and no. Let's start with a no first to avoid unnecessary panic.
We don't want the we don't want the pineapple industrial complex coming after us.
It can come
Yeah, I
after me.
mean-
I've been talking shit about pineapples for the past 30 years. No,
Okay, let the man finish. Let the man finish.
fuck pineapples. Birthday.
Oh my, that's an odd thing to ruin someone's birthday, but you know what? It happens, I guess. So yeah. So the reason why when people eat pineapples, and the people don't die from the inside out is because our bodies like break down the promoline when we ingest it through our mouths. So that is a good reason why we haven't died all to pineapples. Now, is this to say if you eat pineapples on a pizza and you have an allergy to pineapples, you won't die? No, you would definitely have an allergic reaction. You could easily die depending on your how severe the allergy is. But
had it
just
coming for eating pizza and you're fucking putting pizza on pineapple.
I could care less whether or not people do that. If they die from it, that's just hilarious. If they don't die from it, whatever. Just don't force me to eat your pineapple covered pizza.
Right.
And I won't force you to not do
that.
So,
you had it
so, do you know if there are people that don't have the gene for making the enzyme that breaks down the what is it, promoline? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, promoline.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you know if there are people that don't have that gene who could potentially like have intestinal damage or die from eating pineapple?
Not in my research that I come across. The only thing that stood out is the fact that there are people that are, as I mentioned before, that have allergies to pineapple. So I think that's like the worst they could get. Yeah, if you were to ingest, if a regular person were to ingest a large amount of pineapples, that they don't have to worry about pineapples eating them from the inside out,
right?
Like in a horror film,
right? When you go over the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They also recommend having pineapples in your diet because it makes it easier for you to digest food and absorb it.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think tenderizing meat is sometimes called, sometimes described as externalizing digestion. So, like things like tenderizing, I think, and definitely cooking. It makes food easier to digest. There's actually an idea that's why human brains got so big, because when we started cooking our food, we didn't need as much energy to digest it, and that freed up some energy that could go to brain development.
So basically, enzymes helped us evolve.
Yeah. When you use them outside of your gut, yes, outside your gut or your mouth, I guess.
So all that's stopping us from having cool mutant powers is an enzyme making it to my brain.
One of a few things stopping us from living
something
the X-Men nightmare. Yes.
That's not a nightmare.
We just made a discovery.
It is a nightmare. Look, would you want to wake up one day having the abilities of Cyclops? Yes. No, you do not.
You have two eyes for a reason.
Look, I would love to throw concussive blasts out of there. They were concussive blasts, not lasers. Fuck you, Bryan Singer. You got that wrong. They weren't lasers. They were concussive blasts that he throws out of his eyes.
But he couldn't control them. He couldn't control them unless he uses some
to have it. Because then I would just drive by places, look, and then walk away.
Oh my goodness.
I go look at Ryan Reynolds' house. Boom. Blow it up and walk away. It'll be fun.
Until you get sued for literal property damage.
I just looked at something. It's not my fault. It's a general defect.
Yeah, it is your fault. Sorry. It's your ability.
Then my glasses fell off. What am I going to do? Not go outside and stand on public property?
You keep your eyes shut until you can get something to cover your eyes.
He has money. He probably has a bunker under his house. He won't feel it. It's an accident.
You don't know that.
If I do it a second time, then that's my problem.
Look, if he was like if he was any other like irresponsible celebrity, he probably blew his money on several things, if not childcare.
He hasn't blown his money. The one who blew his money on weed and hookers is most likely the guy who plays Sheldon Cooper. So his house would be one to blow up too. But you see, that would be cool if I had those powers. So you're telling me that if we put pineapple enzymes in our brain, I could potentially walk out of here with those kinds of powers?
That's like step 1 of 5.
But that's step one, though. So I'm one step closer to the end, to the end game.
That sounds
All
like
right,
a really.
let's do this.
We're just gonna ignore evolution.
This sounds like a great sloppily crafted B sci-fi movie plot.
You're giving it too much credit.
I think we ought to go for it.
You're giving it way.
You're like, it's not even bad enough to be. It's not even bad the way that movies are bad. It's bad in a deeper way.
Yeah, it's worse.
Okay. Outburst of pop culture based rage and potential sci-fi movie pitch complete.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So, my first one, I'm going to touch on something from psychology, and that's false memories. So in 1974, there was a study done on how memories can be distorted by the information that we get between an event and when we recall the event. And the study was done by Elizabeth Loftus, who's kind of the main person in this field of research. Several films of car crashes were shown to study participants. And the participants were asked to estimate the speed of the cars in the video that they watched. But the scientists manipulated how the question about the speed was asked. Some participants were asked about how fast were the cars going when they contacted or hit each other. Others were asked how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other. And sure enough, the people who were asked smashed in their question estimated a higher speed than those who heard the less intense verbs. But that could be because they weren't sure, and when they were and they weren't sure what they remembered, and they were using the verbs as kind of a clue. But in the second experiment, which was a week later, the participants were asked, "Did you see any broken glass?" And sure enough, the participants that received the smashed verb were more likely to say yes, even though there wasn't any broken glass in the film that they watched. So this lends some credence to the idea that memory is what's called reconstructive memory. The idea is that memories aren't these like pristine transcriptions or recordings of what we've seen, but that when we remember something, we're actually rebuilding the events in our heads. The idea is that, so in the car crash experiment, the participants were asked how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other. The participants weren't going back into this kind of untouched recollection of what they saw, but they were putting the pieces back together based on yes, what they remembered, but also what context clues and information that they were getting at the time they were trying to recall the event. This sort of thing is why leading questions aren't allowed in a court when you first examine the witness, but you can ask leading questions when you cross-examine a witness to see if their memory of an event is consistent and reliable. So what this shows is that the present affects our memory of the past, and what feels like going back into kind of this crystallized memory is really just a process of going back and combining the information that you retained from an event, but also using things like rules of thumb, seeing what would make sense, information you're getting in the present. And this is an important bit. If the information we get from the present is false, or the rules of thumb we're using don't apply in the example, it can lead us to remembering things that didn't actually happen. And this kind of result has been shown a few different times. Psychologists in other experiments have actually been able to implant false memories into people. There have been experiments where people have been made to believe that they committed a crime that never happened, that they got lost in a shopping mall, and that they've been abducted by aliens, among other things. And the reason why I think that this is creepy is because it suggests that we might not know what we think we know about our past. And it makes you wonder, well, how much does this happen like in real life outside the lab? How many of my memories are true? How distorted is my recollection of things? And it's doubly disturbing because in a legal context, you have to wonder how many people have been wrongfully put away, not because the victim of a crime lied, but because they actually had a memory of what happened that was false.
So I'm actually going to piggyback on two things here for you because I actually had done studies in memory science because it's a part of sociology, or at least when I was in class, like it was something that we actually did discuss.
Right. You studied this kind of thing.
Yeah. So eyewitness accounts are oddly enough one of the most damning things in court, but they are not the most reliable. Hence, they don't have the most heft because it is very easy to manipulate a memory, uh, and it's also very easy to manipulate a victim into thinking that something has happened. So,
Yes.
a personal story that I heard. This is an account, a second-hand account, no, third-hand account from somebody. Was a group of people were sharing a hotel room. Two of the people sharing the hotel room start knocking boots when everyone's out of the hotel room, right? Uh, let's just put it like this: Person A and Person B are caught in the act. Person A and Person B were consenting. Person C, who catches them, freaks out, obviously. When Person A leaves, Person C tells Person B, they essayed you. That was assault. That was clearly assault. And Person B agreed to it. They convinced themselves that it was, even though it wasn't.
Right.
Even though enough people said it wasn't. And if you go ask that person about it, they still will think yes, because my best friend told me that it was. I regret it now, and now it is. That's one side, something that I've seen, and we actually got to talk about how memory works. So when you remember something, you don't remember it. It's not like a picture you have stored in your head, right? Like sci-fi lied to you. You don't store random pictures in your head and you just keep on remembering them. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You're remembering.
What's your photographic memory?
Even then, it's not that photographic. All you really do have when you have a photographic memory is a really good ability to remember all of the details every single time. So that means you just have a sharper memory. You don't have a photograph in your mind, right? So
Well,
every time you remember something, you're just re-remembering the last time you thought about it. That's usually how it goes.
oh, so that's like a kind of digressive memory or like a telephone game memory. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's sort of like reconstructive memory. The idea. Yeah.
It's the same idea.
Well,
That's how it usually goes.
so apparently, this was a fairly recent finding that I've been hearing about. I don't know any details about it. I don't know which study it was, but it's this idea that there are some people, in fact, I think most people, are able to call up images in their head. If you've ever heard the term the mind's eye, so like imagine your mother's face. I can like imagine my mother's face in my mind to the point where I feel like I can see it. And apparently, not everybody can do that. Some people don't have that.
So the mind's eye. Uh,
Yeah.
so the mind's eye, to my understanding, it goes back to this like sort of discipline of how some people can actually. It's a weird sort of form of being creative. Somebody I
Right.
know
Yeah.
actually, she talked about it for a long time. Some people like to think, oh, it's a spiritual thing. It's not really spiritual. What it is that when you close your eyes and you can visualize something, that shows that you're pretty much gifted and you have a lot of knowledge as to how to remember. Like you don't just know words; you actually know what you're looking at. So you're actually able to piece something together a lot better than the person next to you who may not be as gifted as you.
Mm.
Not to call anybody stupid out there, but the best way that I can imagine it is if you're a car person, right? So let's say you're a big gearhead, you love talking shop, you love talking cars, you love talking all that stuff. Then when they tell you, okay, imagine a vase, a pink vase with purple chrysanthemums inside of it. You're like, what? Then you tell him, imagine a 2016 Dodge Ram. Oh yeah, and he'll the image will pop up perfectly inside
Right.
his head
Oh, interesting.
because that's how he knows it, and he'll be able to describe it to you. He possibly could even give you the measurements and the specs for it, but it's because it's something that he's really into. Uh, or it was a memory that he has that was very pleasant and he thinks about it all the time so he can reconstruct the memory a lot easier.
Mm.
There is actually a horror form of horror out there right now in the internet regarding memory and made up memories. It's called liminal
Mm.
horror. Have you guys heard about this?
No way. I have not.
Liminal
No.
horror.
This is new
One
to me too.
one
That
very popular
sounds
one.
exactly like what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, that's what it's called, liminal spaces, right? So like
Yeah.
you'll look at something and it'll look like you've been there before, and you can even imagine yourself playing with the toys there in the hallway or having waited in that waiting room. But it's really like
Hmm.
a made up place that a computer might have generated. But the most popular form of liminal horror right now is called the back rooms. Have you guys heard of the back rooms?
Nope.
So the back
I
rooms is sort of like you're wandering around in the back rooms of existence, but they look like any office cubicle you've ever been in, any office building you've ever been in. They look so familiar when you see them. You can say like, you know what? I feel like I've been in that office building like when I was a kid. It looks like this sort of mustard yellow walls,
Hmm.
brown carpet like at a hotel room, right? Or like it looks like somewhere behind a mall. You know that part of the mall that nobody goes into? That's where all the offices are. That's like the day-to-day thing.
Uh-huh.
Or if you ever went to a department store, right? Like these are the people that are
Uh,
running the books and the accounting and the receipts at the end of the day. And it looks like it has this very like 70s, no, 60s, like it's that yellow paint up like that beige yellow paint up against the wall that you've seen forever. So much so you don't even know what decade that shit became popular. You just seen it forever. So like that's one very popular sense of it. Like there's a monster in the back rooms that's chasing after you, right? There's video games about it. There's movies. It's not a movie, but there's like a YouTube series about it out there. Um, that's one. That's one. The other one is that actually I find very fascinating to look at because it's something creepy about it. Uh, Dead malls. You guys ever looked into that?
no.
nope.
So it's actually getting a lot more of a becoming more of a thing now, but malls in America have been dying for like the past 20, 30 years because
Hmm.
as much to anybody living abroad who might be listening to us, I don't mean to sound unpatriotic, but this is something that's very true. There are only select parts of the United States that are thriving, right? There's only one central city in the center of America, of the United States, that's thriving. That's Chicago. Pittsburgh is getting better, but every other city between Los Angeles and New York, they're kind of every day struggling to find their way. And a lot of small towns that usually rely on the still cities are dying off because the cities are falling, right? This is just the reality of
Hmm.
things out there in America. It's not political, it's just we're in a situation like that in this country. So when you drive across, and I've actually seen some of these firsthand while I was driving from New York uh, to my destination. I didn't stop because I was on the time crunch, and not I would have definitely stopped and caught some footage of this. Uh, you see a lot of malls and large stores that you can tell once had people on them, and they look really haunted. But what's creepy is that malls all look the same across the country. So when you see these pictures, you automatically feel like you've been there. And you can imagine yourself walking around there like in 2001,
Oh.
2002, looking at CDs, looking at
Uh-huh.
video games on the rack, even though like you've never been in that mall. But when you see it, you can envision yourself
Yeah.
doing it. And there's something kind of like
Yeah.
haunting about that in a very like sort of back of the bone way. But yes, Liminal
Interesting.
Horror. You
Yeah.
should check that out. It's actually very it's like a spinal tap to your brain when you look at it. It's very weird.
Wow. Yeah, because these malls are the sorts of places that you were in. So there's a part of you that feels like, wait a minute. Have I been here before? I know I haven't, but it kind of feels like I have.
It feels like
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, like that's an insight into the way that memory works. You know, like we're using parts of the things that are in our heads from the past, but we're also using these little rules that we follow to say, oh, okay, that. So it might be easy to to imagine how memory of being to a place that you've never been to could be put in your head because it's similar to places that you've been, to other places that you've been.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one guy did a really good video on it. I'll send it to you guys after the podcast's over, but it's like an hour long, so just be aware. I've talked
Thank
about
you.
it before. I've mocked his narrative style a few times. A guy called Super Eye Patch Wolf, but he did like a whole video about liminal horror, otherworldly horror. There's one also that's very fascinating that he did. This is actually going to be this is regarding to liminal stories. Do you know that Garfield is a very important part of our cultural zeitgeist?
Garfield the cat.
Garfield the cat.
Okay. I mean, they keep making movies
Yeah,
about him.
there's a lot of shit about Garfield out there that we
Ah.
don't know, but that we know about. But I'll put it out like this.
What's Jim Davis hiding?
Actually, what Jim Davis was hiding was that he was very fucking depressed when he wrote Garfield, right?
Huh.
So people have taken Garfield over the years and converted it into a very creepy horror story. But what's interesting about it is Garfield is in our memories, and a lot of people have repressed Garfield memories. And it's a phenomenon. Like, there are people who look at Garfield and go, meh. But then they'll hear from their own parents, like, oh, yeah, there's that old Garfield toy you used to walk around with. It was your favorite toy. You loved it. Why? Why don't I remember it? Everybody at some point has had, like, Garfield has sold more shit than Mickey Mouse has. It's out there. Like, the stat is out there.
I
Like,
know
he
you were
has sold
ecstatic about that.
he sold more shit. But what was creepy about it is, why is it that he just becomes obscure out of nowhere? Like we like fight really hard to forget that we were once into Garfield. It's like it's
Huh.
in there with
Well,
the way
most of
memory works.
us.
Another film I would recommend
So
for that
there's
kind of thing is The Cell.
okay. Cell. Okay,
Jennifer.
I believe I've heard of that.
So yes. You were
Yeah.
saying? Sorry.
Uh, no. That nothing really. Okay. You got another one, Jack?
I got my second one, which is not as I don't know how deep it's gonna be, but as we will
Yeah.
get to that one. That one was a good one. Hats off. That was more better than anything Ryan Reynolds has ever made in his whole fucking career.
Oh my god.
So
Now, I
has now
am
questioning
not
our sanity.
claiming. I am not claiming any accomplishments that exceed those of Mr. Reynolds of Mr.
you know
Reynolds.
what's funny? That guy is such a weirdo. If he heard this, he would probably come on here and start talking shit to me. At which point I'm like, thank you. You're just giving me a favor by highlighting me, dick. Anyway, back away from the cancer of horror films till he actually played cancer. Uh, so he was in the Amityville horror movie remake too. Piece of shit. Anyways, moving along.
He was. That's true.
He
Yeah.
was fucking. Anyways, so there is a phenomenon out there in the deers that is a real thing. It has been documented since the 60s, and for some odd reason we don't talk about this enough. There is a disease among deer called chronic wasting disease,
Yep.
and what it does is it essentially creates zombie deers. And people don't talk like I started finding out about this because of TikTok, right? Um, there's a very famous Korean zombie movie called Train to Busan, right? And
Mhm.
in the opening of Train to Busan, there is a deer that gets hit by a car, and then he just gets right back up, snaps his neck back into place, and walks on about his day because it's a zombie now, right? So now people are going around talking about zombie deer and the perils of how zombie deer is a real thing. But what they have failed to realize is that this has been a thing since the 60s. It's just we don't talk about it for some odd reason, even though we should talk about zombie deer because it's contagious apparently, right? Like they say you can transmit it
Between deer and people, or deer and other hoofed
between deer and
animals.
other deer.
Okay. Oh yes. Yeah.
And I think it can actually bust up other animals if they come in contact with the deer. Like if a deer is sick with it and it hurts them, then it can actually
Right.
hurt the other animal too. Like they don't become all zombie like, but they do become sick from it. So the reason why I feel like it's important to talk about it is what is the first thing a lot of people go around hunting?
Deer.
Yeah.
Now,
Sort of the.
why do these people hunt deer?
For meat.
Yeah, they have
Exactly.
gamey meat.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat the deer.
They're gonna
when
eat the
they
deer.
kill the deer, it would be in their best interest to make sure they're not gonna kill one of these and then eat it.
Right.
Because that's like where my
That'd be-
fear is. And there's people
that'd be pretty
out there that
nasty.
love to hunt without
Yeah.
permits.
Yeah. Well, so what are the symptoms of the disease? What does it do to the deer?
So I looked it up because it was so weird. It's like it's one of those things that I tried to find an actual medical diary about it, but it's not handled as much. So to my understanding, what it does is that it's a sort of germ, a sort of here we go, sponge foam encephalopathy, TSC.
So it infects the brain.
So it affects the brain.
Yeah.
It's kind of like mad cow disease. So then what
Mhm.
it'll do is that it'll eat the brain and it'll pretty much go into the body, and the deer will be wandering around aimless like a zombie.
Oh my gosh.
What's even creepier is there are images out there of deer with their whole backs just straight up exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the spine and everything sticking out, and they're just walking around.
Yeah.
They're just walking around like nothing's wrong. And
Gosh.
I can only assume that the deer are walking around like that because it probably got attacked by a predator. It opened the back up.
Hmm.
Predator probably like, wait, why is this thing not screaming? This thing tastes weird. Oh, sick deer. And get up. The deer probably goes, gets up, and is walking around with its back all exposed. Or it's like neck. This looks like a horror movie. Or like the
Tell
neck
you what, like,
or whatever, just walking around.
what is the
Zombie walking
deer?
around.
What is it like to be a deer in that situation? Like, is the deer feeling pain? Like, that's the sort of pain that a person, if a person was experiencing it, they'd be just screaming their head off.
I actually don't think it feels anything. I think it's long dead. The consciousness is long gone.
That's a blessing, I guess. But back to like the meat for a second. So does it operate like similar to mad cow disease, where it's like, if you were to eat the meat, like if you eat the meat raw, yeah, of course you would contract it. But can fire cleanse it? If you were to like cook the meat,
I don't know.
if you,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, is it the sort of pathogen that could be cooked out?
The way I see it though is it's one of those things where like certain meat after a certain point you just don't want to touch it. The way I understand it is this thing is long dead and it's just kind of like walking around like a parasite. It's controlling
Hmm.
it from the inside. So I wouldn't eat that because I'm pretty sure it's like eating rotten meat.
Hmm.
Like after a while, I think the reason why it spreads is because the body stops being functional to move it around after a while. Like, so we talked about zombies before, but we never got to this point. Um, in real life, why an undead zombie invasion wouldn't work is all you got to do is wait a month. Once those ligaments turn solid, when the zombie chases you, its knees will fall off, and then that'll be the end of the zombie. It's stiff.
you're,
But
you're
all you
axing
have
a
to do
lot.
is last out a month. That's all you got to do.
You're axing a lot.
Well, honestly, out here in where I'm at, these people would be fine for a month.
Yeah,
I
out
don't have their own
there.
stuff. The cities would be the ones that have a lot of problems, but all you got to do is just bunker up, food for a month, and you'd be fine. Because the body stiffens up, you become stiff. Not even you could last like a week. It's just the fresh ones you got to wait for. It's be a month.
So you're saying that rigor mortis will save mankind from the zombie apocalypse?
Yep.
That would be a good plot point. That would be a good plot point in like a zombie comedy.
I feel like someone did it. I just can't remember who. There was one where they dumped the cure into the water, and I feel like there was one oh no. 28 days later did it, but they did it serious where like the infected starve after 28 days.
Okay. Yeah. Well, because in 28 days later, they're not undead.
They're not
They're just
undead.
people in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're infected with rage.
Rage because those fucking hippies saved them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The animal rights activists. It's just like you don't understand. Yeah. Yeah.
That's like one of those times. It's actually one of those things that's relevant to this thing with a fucking deer. Here's the problem with those people. I'm pretty sure if I look hard enough, I will find someone who will say, "Oh my God, they should put it in. Someone should help it. It's so dangerous. Somebody can't cure this." And I'm pretty sure if they put one in a lab somewhere for testing, the lab might come back and try to cure this thing and mutate it to a dangerous extent, and then out will come the hippies. That's murder, PETA. It's gonna be PETA. They take care of Baskin's dirty money, but they will take support. They will knock stupid things you don't understand. Pokemon people, and they will free us, and that's how the zombie apocalypse will start. They will go in there and try to save a mutated deer, get killed, and then next thing you know, we got some trouble. Unless it's already happened and they actually do just protect things, we just don't hear about it.
Yeah, we don't hear about it.
You're giving Kita a lot of credit here.
I'm not giving them credit. They're the idiots that let it loose. I'm talking about places like
Yeah,
Procter and
you're
Gamble,
giving. Yeah,
General Electric, where they have
hey,
those
that's still
little
giving
labs in
credit.
the middle of nowhere, like where I'm at. The little labs in the middle of nowhere, like where I'm at, that look like, hey, there's nothing here. All right, no one would expect us, like Stranger Things, the Hawkins lab. No one would expect us to be
Hmm.
running a lab like that out here in the middle of nowhere. And then they do.
Yeah, they do.
Like, um, just as an idea, right? Like to continue from where we are with these kinds of things. Have you guys have heard of Resident Evil, right? The film, the first film. I don't know if you've
Sure.
seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know the concept, right? They go into like an underground base
Yep.
or whatever.
Hmm.
So, I remember hearing somewhere. It's probably a rumor, but the thing is that it's such a rumor that you wouldn't be surprised if it was actually a thing. Is that there are places like the Hive out there in the world in Resident Evil, like
You
a
mean
whole
Oh.
underground facility that's meant to pretty much just be conduct where a lot of things experiments are conducted.
Hmm.
Theory is Area 51 is a lot like the Hive.
Yeah.
Like that's one
uh,
theory.
Yeah.
that's the most well-known one. It's not secret. Everyone knows something is going on over there.
Yeah, with the supposed alien bodies. Yeah.
No one cares about them. No one cares about the aliens.
But like there are theories that like there are places out there that they do these kinds of experiments, and every once in a while we will find out about medicine that is suddenly able to help you with other things, and people are like, oh, how'd you test this? Well, test subjects, we got it. Like you never know. It's a very interesting thing that I was looking into a while ago when I was trying to research the X Files. Apparently, like there's a
Uh-huh.
thing. There is like an
Uh,
actual debunked sort of thing like that about the not debunked. There's a declassified files that some people quote unquote call the X Files with the FBI and stuff. It's like
right.
things that are inexplicable.
Testing on aliens, that's crazy. Come on. Everybody knows they're testing on Bigfoots.
That's right. That's what I heard from Rusty Shackelford.
Okay. Okay, Bolt, what do you got?
Skip over me just to because I have to step away and do something really. Just give me
Someone
like.
didn't do the fucking homework. That sounds.
I
like.
did the homework.
That's
You know what?
exactly
Okay.
That sounds like someone.
No.
did the
Okay,
homework.
no. You know what? Okay, the
Teacher
topic I
needs to
had
do-
in mind was exploding head syndrome, but
Oh yeah.
you know what?
I know someone who had
Yeah.
that.
What?
Yes. You know what? Let me just quickly explain it, and that way we can segue to Pumpkin's real life personal experience with that
It wasn't an
condition.
experience, It was a third-hand account.
Yeah, that's a close enough to experience that we're gonna get. Because unless we count tinnitus, which is the closest thing to having that, which no, I do not count that obviously, but that's the closest thing to having a good way to kind of give people an example of what it would sound like at a base level. So, just to give a quick rundown, exploding head syndrome is a mental condition where people would hear a loud ringing sound in their head that doesn't exist. That's a key thing we have to differentiate between that and tinnitus, which is loud ringing in your ear that comes about due to what was that thing? Well, I guess a condition where your inner earlobe, not ear, well, inner eardrum is suffering from, I guess, repeated stress of like sound waves and decibels. So that's why it's always not a good idea to wear headsets and crank high level amounts of metal music for prolonged periods of time. But anywho.
Interesting. So tinnitus is because of something that's in the ear, but this but exploding head syndrome is a neurological condition. It's in the brain.
Correct. And
Okay.
in addition, and with exploding head syndrome, the loud noises in their head typically occur when they're falling asleep or transitioning between sleep and awaking.
Oh gosh, that's
Yeah. And
that's horrible.
Oh, it gets it gets worse from there. Unlike tinnitus, where you just have like a little ringing in your ear.
Yeah.
No, not something that difficult to deal with. Exploding head syndrome, on the other hand, takes that and magnifies it to 11. So you will hear sounds like sounds that you hear with exploding head syndrome is sounds of like explosions, thunderclaps, crashes, fireworks, or gunshots. And since at the state it's not real, no one else can hear it.
Wow.
These episodes last less than a second.
Huh.
And they're also accompanied by a myriad of other symptoms, which includes flashes of light, muscle jerks, distress, and psychological signs of fear, such as sweating, palpitations, and shortness of breath.
Mm-hmm.
Exploding head syndrome is categorized as a benign sleeping disorder.
Oh gosh.
That can happen to people of all ages, but is more common in women. So shout out to women. You're more likely to suffer from exploding head syndrome.
Do they know what causes it?
Not. Oh well, there's some possible causes of exploding head syndrome include minor seizures in the temporal lobe of the brain, sudden shifts in the middle ear, and stress or anxiety.
Okay.
With that little scientific definition and background behind exploding head syndrome, Pumpkin, you want to give us a third account of someone who has lived through something like this?
Pretty brief that our buddy explained it to us. This is like maybe 10 years ago, so I'll give you like what I remember, and I'm going to reconstruct my memory from a little bit. But so when my friend's dad used to be a cop, uh, for about 20, 30 years, and he'd held almost every different kind of job in the police force, both administratively and on the force, on the beat kind of thing. So to my understanding, uh, he got this thing randomly one day. He had an aversion to shining lights, and then he said he would describe it as like a screeching nail on a chalkboard kind of sound that he would hear. Like, according to the way my buddy told the story, like he would be in the middle of the day, he would be in the basement because that's like where he would avoid the light, and so that he could sleep with a rag on his head. And then suddenly he would just hear this large sort of like sound going into his head, and despite maybe like anything you can do, nothing nothing can make this go away.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that would make it go away, which I don't advise anybody to do this, is they have a brick wall in the basement, and he would walk into the room with the brick wall and hit his head against the brick wall to make the sound stop.
Oh boy.
The concussive blow against his head would make the ringing stop, and then he could sleep.
Uh-huh.
And this carried on for a while until it cycled out of his brain. Like he was on administrative leave for a while, and it would like help him cycle it out of his brain.
Oh, it got that bad that he had to like take time off of work.
Yeah, like he was allowed to be off of work, but it was something that he was like there was no easy way for him to like even cope. Like, can you imagine working at the station, then this thing starts going through your head,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can't do jack. You have to be home until this thing is over with. So he had that, and then I think they even got rid of some of their pets for the duration because there's nothing he could do.
Yeah.
Once it was over, once his pets were done, once it was all over, he was able to like go back to work and finish out his time and retire. But
Mhm.
according to him, though, he's like, that's a disease that I not even on my worst enemy. He's like, that thing
Oh,
is
yeah.
annoying. It is painful. Uh, when my friend would come home, he's like, yeah, I remember literally walking in, taking my shoes off, and tiptoeing all the way upstairs to get to not make noise. Like that is how intense it was.
Oh gosh.
So screaming. So interesting.
Exploding head syndrome.
Exploding head.
It's it's very dramatically named, isn't it?
Yep.
I thought it was something like spontaneous human combustion, but restricted to the head.
Yeah, I thought it was like an actual
Yeah.
brain, but no, like,
Yeah.
there is something similar to that though. It's just that the head doesn't blow up. You get something else. It is possible that if you overstress yourself enough, your brain can actually blow a gasket.
Yeah. Oh well. There's an aneurysm. I've heard of that.
Aneurysm that
Yeah.
pops out
Yeah.
or something like that, and that can actually kill you if you're not careful.
Yeah. Just imagine, like, losing your cool can literally kill you. Yeah.
What's funny is that they do that on TV sometimes. They make it seem funny, but that shit is not funny. It happens for real. Like I heard stories about that. Like people
Yeah.
just in the heat, they get tired, they get pissed off at somebody and start screaming. The next thing you know, you son of a, and over they go. Really, really, really funny face for behind for everybody to see as they click over. Eyes crossed, mouth just drops, jaw wide open on the floor, tongue out. It's not funny.
Yeah.
It is funny, and you're laughing at it.
It is sometimes done. Like sudden deaths are sometimes done for a comedic effect.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you think it's fun. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
Like,
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, but they do it on TV all the time. You're like, I get it, but
when it's in a TV show done a certain way, it can be funny.
Mm-hmm. That's on TV though.
Yeah.
I've seen some stupid things.
No, I mean,
that are funny.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Well, he's gone. I'll actually tell you this one, Bolt. Something stupid that TV does that people like wouldn't find funny today, but it was funny no more than 10 years ago. Robert Downey Jr. doing blackface in Tropic Thunder. Anybody there?
Oh my goodness, that's
No, like what's funny is that he actually did it, and people are now pissed about it. But if you go watch the movie, that's part of the joke is that he's playing a character doing blackface to get a role in a movie. The character is blonde-haired and blue-eyed, but he painted himself this way to get the role in the movie.
Yeah, no one watched that far. They just they just saw a scene being taken out of context, and then it's like, oh, pitchfork. Let me get the sharpener. Let's get ready to stab him. But
too, when that movie came out, a lot of people were looking in the ads like, who is Robert Downey Jr.? Like, where is he at? He's in that ad, but I don't see him. And I'm like, he's the black guy. No, I'm like, yeah, he's the black guy.
Okay, and we're back.
So,
I'll catch that story on the playback.
It's only like
talk about Tropic Thunder.
Oh yes, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah, I actually use that as the yin and yang of comedy and horror. There's a lot of bad shit that happens in that movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
a pretty
comedic effect, but then like in horror, we take a lot of innocent things and convert them into something evil.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Like think about it in Tropic.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
Blow off Steve Coogan's head, and then like
later
you have Ben Stiller picking it up, going, "Hi, everybody! I'm a live
Yeah.
director." Blah 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 blah. Blah. It's just real. It's just chickens. This is just nothing but corn syrup. And he's like, really realistic blood tasting corn syrup. And like you see Robert
Yeah.
Downey Jr. do like he does the cross in Spanish. They say persinar. I forgot how you say it in English. When you do the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost thing, the cross motions.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, shivering, and everyone's like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
you!"
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Everyone's laughing.
and he kills the giant panda. Yeah.
Oh yes, and when he kills
Yeah.
the giant panda, like, I killed a cute, innocent, ugly
No. I killed the thing I love most.
And the worst part about that part is the dude is like, "Oh shit, you killed a hooker. It's okay. We're gonna get through this." Like, dude, that's evil. This is evil. You killed a hooker. You should not be helping him out. I should not be laughing that you're helping him cover up a hooker murder.
And yet you are.
Well, we
Yet
are,
you
but
are.
then like you go look over at horror, right? What
Mhm.
do horror movies do?
Yeah.
Oh, that doll you like? That's
We
cool
could
too.
do we could do an episode. We could do an episode on comedy and horror.
Yep, we'll do one
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
There's a lot of, like,
That's a good topic. Yeah.
Check
Okay,
it out,
but
April Fools.
for the moment, we are talking about disturbing scientific discoveries, and this will be our last one. Okay. Have you guys heard of the Ulas family?
Nope.
So the Ulas family are, it refers to 5 siblings, and all 5 of these siblings walk on all 4s. So you can look at pictures of this family online, and when you first see it, frankly, it's disturbing and creepy. You know, like people walking like animals. And there's a BBC documentary on them and about the scientific inquiry into why they walk like this. And I'm basing most of what I'm going to say on that documentary. So they were found in southern Turkey in 2005. And the scientists first decided to keep this finding a secret because it was just kind of so shocking. And all the scientists interviewed in the documentary say that this has just never been seen before. And when I first saw it, actually, I was like, is this a hoax? I mean, it just seems implausible. I mean, like, human beings, upright walking is what we're built for. Like, our legs are longer than our arms. Our foramen magnum, which is where the spinal cord goes into the skull, is at the bottom of our skulls, whereas it's at the back of the skulls of a chimpanzees, based on the differences in how we walk. So I'm like, how did this happen? So there were ideas thrown around that this family was an evolutionary throwback, that somehow these people didn't have the gene for bipedalism and were reverting back to an earlier stage in our evolution. Now, we do have ancient genes in us, all of us, and sometimes those can show up when newer genes are turned off. I mean, there are people that are born with these small little tails. Some people are born with excessive hair. Some people are born with extra sets of nipples. So there was that.
Wolfmen.
Sorry?
There's those people that they look like wolfmen because the hair grows all the way out of
Right.
their forehead.
Yeah. That's exactly it. But the backwards evolution idea, when it applies to this family, really doesn't make any sense. As one of the scientists investigating this, Nick Humphrey, said, because bipedalism is something that most likely evolved very gradually and has to just involve a whole bunch of different genes working together. So there's just really no way that a single genetic mutation would cause someone to revert back to walking like a quadrupedal ancestor. Also, the scientists mentioned that the implication that these people are a throwback or like living fossils is is pretty insulting. I think he's right. It's kind of implying that they're less than human, which they're not. So it turns out, as far as the cause of the condition goes, it's probably a combination of things that make them walk this way. They have missing tissue in their cerebellums, which is the part of the brain that's involved in a balance, or largely involved in balance. So that combined with the fact that in rural Turkey they didn't have access to modern medical treatments or the kind of physical therapy that would have helped them walk upright at an earlier age. So they're certainly not an evolutionary throwback. But according to the scientists in the documentary, they can shed some light on human evolution, because the fact that they exist shows that maybe humans had a quadrupedal phase between the time that we stopped being tree dwellers like apes and monkeys and we started to walk on two legs. And studying their anatomy could help scientists figure out when humans started walking upright. They could show like what kinds of features are related to walking on all fours in humans, and maybe tell us what to look for in the fossils that we find. Just a note, more recent research from 2014 shows that they walk as an adaptation to their sense of balance. It's a condition called cerebellar hypoplasia. It's not because of some primitive gene. And also, to throw a wrench into the backwards evolution argument, the way they walk, their step patterns, they're not like those of other primates. They actually walk more like cats. It's the pattern of their steps are more like cats than other primates.
Yeah, I'm looking them up. They look a little bit like cats and bears.
Interesting. What about them did suggest that to you?
The way that the hip is all the way up, and the way that,
Hmm.
like, the hip is all the way up, but the feet touch the ground. So it's weird. It's like the legs are fully erect, but
Yeah.
the waist and everything goes down, and they kind of reminds you of like when a bear is charging at someone.
Hmm.
When a bear is charging at someone, right? Like it has kind of like that weird little gallop that the bear does. That's kind
Yeah.
of what it looks like.
Ah.
It's like a bear
Okay.
slash cat,
Interesting.
same thing. Like a cat will do that sort of like prowler type thing, and it's kind of the similar fascinating one. So I'm like, yeah, it looks kind of like that. Like it's very interesting. I mean, I've heard theories on evolution in the past. Uh, One theory that I've heard is uh, different things can come from the same animal. So, for example, the woolly mammoth has two descendants in today's world, to my understanding. This might have been debunked, but this is what I've heard. Can you guess what the second descendant of the woolly mammoth is outside of the elephant?
Um, well, I know that elephants are don't really have many close living relatives, but I know one of them is the manatee.
So you're not far. To my
Okay.
understanding, as I learned when I was in biology class as a kid, the second descendant of the elephant is the whale. The blue whale and the whale family
Right.
all differ
Hmm.
from elephants.
Yeah. So my understanding is that those guys are more closely related to hippopotamuses.
No, but these are like something
Yeah.
someone pointed out because potentially mammoths were getting hunted a lot by predators, so they went into the
Uh-huh.
water.
Yeah.
After a while, they just stayed in the water.
Mm, yeah.
There's probably like a
Yeah.
school that
Well,
just stayed there.
yeah, yeah. I did know about the very counterintuitive point that whales are like nestled in the ungulate clade. Ungulates are basically all hoofed mammals, but as it happens, some hoofed mammals went back into the water and became whales.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
So, but
surprised.
your larger point about traits coming from, or traits being passed down.
Yeah, so for example, I've also heard that the humans may have another sibling outside of monkeys. Because like normally, right, we always look to monkeys. Have another relative.
Yeah.
Uh, can you guess who the other
Mm-hmm.
relative is? So you might know which one I'm talking about.
I well, let's see. I'm trying to think of the
I'll give you a
relatives
quick
that
hint.
are
It's a
closer to,
barnyard animal.
yeah. It's a barnyard. Pigs.
Yep, we share a
Yeah.
lot of things in common with pigs. Uh, there are
Yeah.
actually things out there that are like, alternatives out there that are being made now to help people uh, with skin grafts instead of like maybe
Uh-huh.
having to wait for a donor. You can actually track down a
Uh-huh.
pig, and some people are using pig skin to help patch in parts of the skin that were damaged, and it's working. Like the skin is taking
Yeah. Oh
some
yeah, I've heard
people
of
are
like
using pig
pig
tissues
organs.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, like pig organs
Mm-hmm.
also. Like I've heard of this, using organs from the pig tissue,
Yeah.
and they're using the tissue from pigs to help uh, bring back organs inside the human body, so that way we don't have to wait on a donor. Maybe the cells from the pig organ can actually adapt and regenerate the organ that we already had.
Mm-hmm.
So our very tasty buddy that we eat every Christmas is also going to be one of our also biggest lifesavers, because there's also some stories I'm hearing about pigs being used for heart transplants as well, like a pig heart. So there is potential. It hasn't been successfully done yet, to my understanding. There's a lot of red tape, but potentially
Mm-hmm.
someday in the future, you might get a pig kidney as opposed to a human kidney.
Yeah.
And as creepy as that sounds, it's actually a very huge breakthrough, because a lot of times people with these kind of issues pass away because they can't get a donor in time, or they can't find
Yeah.
someone that matches. But can you imagine if you
Donors
could
are
work it
in
out?
demand. Yeah.
Yeah, like if a pig's heart worked
Yeah.
and you're able to do the transfer to the pig heart, next thing you know, you don't have an issue anymore.
Right.
At
Yeah.
least if the pig heart can give this person some more time until we find a donor,
Yeah.
right? At least it's a very like viable option
Mm-hmm.
versus, well, sorry, it's over. Like, oh, you give me a
Mm-hmm.
few more months with a pig heart until somebody does come. I can wait a little longer in line. That would be happy. But if the pig heart is a permanent solution to this
Yeah.
problem, I would even be more detrimentally happy.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind if
Yeah.
you could help.
Yeah.
If you could help me
I'm
get my teeth back, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the situation with pigs is as far as like relatedness goes. I would have to look at some of the research on that because they're hoofed animals, so I would assume that they're equally related to us as cows are. But there seem to be some features in them that are human-like. I mean, not just the, not just their organs, but their smarts. Like as far as hoofed animals go, and as far as barnyard animals go, they're pretty brainy.
So this is gonna sound gross, but do you want to hear my theory as to how evolution probably happens?
Sure.
Uh, I actually think evolution is a result of interspecies breeding.
In some cases, it almost certainly is.
So, like in the wild, right? I think a couple months ago, we talked about how there might have been some kind of primate native to North America, right? Somewhere out there.
Maybe. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point a primate did something with a pig like animal, like a boar or something.
Hmm.
Because it's the wild and like there are like, instincts and like raw, dirty instincts that certain animals get up to. I wouldn't be surprised if this is what happened. Pissed off monkey attacks boar. Boar is actually impregnated. Semen takes, boar is impregnated, and an abomination is born that can walk. I wouldn't be surprised if
So
something
What in
happened.
the?
there's a problem.
There are several problems.
Monkeys and pigs. Yes, monkeys and pigs are not related enough to produce a viable offspring.
Not now, but
I would assume that they never were.
So this is what happens when you let Pumpkin go down to Missouri.
hey,
He
look, man,
starts
I
getting
saw two
ideas.
whales argue over a guy today. All right, that
He
was the
starts
thing I saw.
he starts getting okay.
Now he's
That
talking
is
about
true.
whales.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's talk about
Well,
whales.
okay. But back to the Ulas family.
Yes,
So, have you guys looked at the pictures?
I looked at them.
Okay, yeah. So, what's your? How would you describe your reaction when you first see it?
Oddly enough, for some reason, I didn't get ghastly about it. I just see that they're
Hmm.
missing an issue with they have a spine problem. That's all.
Hmm.
Like there's a spine problem. It's not deep about evolution or anything like that.
Right.
It is
Yeah.
a simple. They have a spine defect. Uh, the two people in the wild met that were able to kind of produce these kids. They produced not one but four. So I think it's a genetic issue.
Five.
I'd say five. Is that every picture I see, they only show four.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to show five people in a picture.
Oh, it's only like four walk. They're like running down the beach or something like that. Like
Yeah.
this ocean behind them.
Yeah, that's from the documentary.
Yeah, but when I look at it, like I see that this is what they're like. Their dad or somebody in the other pictures, he seems to be walking upright. They
Hmm.
probably
Yeah.
did not. They looks like they live in a rural part of town, a part of the world, so they probably didn't have a doctor on hand that could have like at least provided a surgery or
Yeah.
straightened them out with chiropractics over the years.
Yeah, that
But
was one scientist thought. Yeah.
yeah, but it does seem though like they are thriving. They seem to not be, in any type of danger. Is it an evolutionary mistake? I don't think so. Is it a regression? I don't think so.
No, no.
But it is something that like makes you think like, oh yeah, this is another potential thing. But honestly, had it been addressed sooner, I feel like surgery might have helped them and therapy
Yeah.
might have helped them walk upright. But they seem to have adapted. If anything, what's interesting about this one on the other side of things is the human brain's resiliency to adapt because
Yes.
like
Yeah.
these people like they seem to be living somewhere and they seem to be all well fed. They seem to
Hmm.
be very like clothed. They seem to be functional, right? Like there's this didn't stop them.
Yeah.
Like, it's very fascinating like how resilient humans are. It makes me
Yeah.
wonder what the future is going to look like for humans.
Oh, that's a good thought. Yeah.
Right? There's a positive
Yeah.
side on it. Like they don't look sad. They don't look like they're suffering.
Right.
It looks like they just I walk with my hands. It's a part of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the documentary, it does touch on some of the ways in which their life is difficult. Some of them seem to struggle with moving around, at least in certain places. Also, they're kind of pariah in the local community. You know, they're unusual. There are local kids that taunt them. They're not entirely accepted as members of the community. So that part was very sad.
It is sad, and it's
Yeah.
I hate to be this person. Tolerance does not exist everywhere around the world. It's like you think that people would feel bad for them on their side of the world, but they don't.
Yeah.
It is a thing, and you know that's one side that I wish we would have gotten over as a whole on the global community, but we don't.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe one day.
maybe one day, but something is going to sound pessimistic on my end. I'm not going to hold my breath. There's always
that's a whole
there's
that's
always
a
gonna
whole
be
other conversation. Yeah.
like if we're talking about
Um
human nature, that's just going to be a bunch of assholes out there. That's why we have our rule:
yeah.
no horrific things allowed. Unless we're talking about Ryan
um
Reynolds' career.
yeah. Bolt, do you have any thoughts? How did you respond when you first looked at the pictures?
Oh, yeah, I did not get to see the pictures. Can we put it in the chat because just a viewer
Oh, sure.
chimed in and said, "Oh, that sounds like the premise of a horror movie." Not gonna lie. So let's
Actually, I'll
just
tell you
look.
what horror movie it did sound like when I was thinking about it. You remember The Hills Have Eyes?
The Hills Have Eyes. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Classic movie.
Yeah.
Never saw.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it does touch on the kind of genre of horror, or at least scary things in horror about physical abnormalities. So in The Hills Have Eyes, you have Michael Berryman, who does a lot of horror movies because he has a very unusual physical features. He has a condition where he doesn't grow any body hair, and he has this very tall, kind of conish shaped head, and he's embraced it. He's an actor who's really used his physical unusualness as an asset in horror. And then like a month ago, we talked about Freaks.
Yes, the lost episode, which I'm still trying
Mhm.
to recover.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Nobody ever heard that one.
I mean, the asshole who reported us for that one, just be aware, I still hate WWE, and fuck Jim Cornette, and fuck you.
Okay, sound paranoid. That was just because it was a copyrighted thing from an organization. That's what got us dinged. Not because of an idiot that doesn't know how to understand what the concept of no means.
Talking about how John Borman or Bormanzi or a prototype stupid heart in the way. Prototype orca? What? The stupid heart symbol is in the way. I can't read it. I cannot read what a prototype he's talking about.
A prototype orc.
Well, I'm trying to drop it into the YouTube chat, and YouTube doesn't like the things I'm typing. So
to our group.
Oh, okay. Cool. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first heard about this, and I first looked at the pictures, I was frankly pretty disturbed. And I mean, not in like a judgmental way, but in just sort of like an instinctive, like, oh my gosh, it's like they're people, but they're behaving like animals. And it's just sort of like those two things don't go together. And I think it's because, like people, we have this image of ourselves as not animals. We've risen above that. We're in a whole other category. There's people, and then there's animals. And this sort of like messes with that image. With that image in your head. And there's some horror that plays on that fear. Do you guys know the Island of Lost Souls?
I have heard of it. I have never.
Yes. It's an old Bella.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Sorry. Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were stopping me. Anyway, I believe he's doing it at the embryonic level, but he's hybridizing humans with animals, and that's part of the horror. Is that you have characters in there that are like half human, half goat, half human, half leopard, and this is an and it's like he's doing it for science, but for them it's an affliction, and for us it's like just something it's something horrific. It's just like those two. It's just like it's just like people need to be people, and if they're combined with something else, or if they're like appear or are behaving like animals, there's just something about that that's very disturbing to us, or at least disturbing to enough people that they can make successful horror stories out of it.
I mean, I'm only reminded of a Treehouse of Horror segment where they parodied this one.
Hmm.
Why would you want
Okay.
to do this? All you can do is eat, sleep, have sex, and then wake up and lie around in your own filth, and then you sleep and eat. And has like, where do I sign up? Stupid Homer. But no, we crossed that threshold.
You cut out for a minute there, but I think I and the folks at home. Sorry.
No, wait, am I on a delay? I feel like I'm on a delay.
I think you might be. Yeah.
Stupid Midwest. Oh,
I think you might be. Yeah.
you
That's a
betcha,
sign
yeah.
for us to kind of wrap it up. It's
Oh,
past
you
the
betcha,
time.
yeah. So I'll only say
Uh,
this: if I
yeah.
had the option to be
Now,
spliced with another animal, all I would want to do is be a bear cat, because that way I can live outside but poop in the yard. Continue, everybody, as long as you were.
a bear cat. Do you mean a binturong or a red panda? There's a few different animals that are called bear cats.
Fine, I would be a red panda, just to annoy my
Good
fiance.
choice.
Oh my
Does she not like red pandas?
No, I would just walk around all day long with that Four Town music from that Disney movie.
From a turning red. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
I would just
yeah,
walk around all day with
yeah,
that until she gets annoyed with it.
yeah, yeah. One thing that I do want to flag up when we're talking about the creepiness factor when it comes to the Ulas family in particular is I don't mean to be disparaging of of their dignity in any way, but I think that horror as a genre and as a human experience, it's about exploring what disturbs us and frightens us, and much of that gets into, like we've talked about, classic horror themes of physical abnormalities and sometimes mental illness. But I think that talking about why something disturbs us is a way of making it not so disturbing. By the end of my research on this family, I stopped almost completely. Stopped finding the image of them disturbing. I think that understanding it takes the fear away, but horror is still an interesting way of exploring what disturbs us and why it does.
Well, we venture into the unknown, man. That's the point
It's
of horror.
true.
You have to venture into
Yeah.
the unknown and not be afraid of the unknown. That's why,
Mm.
we send Bolt on these missions and he's failed to come back because he
You
doesn't
mean
explore the
we?
unknown.
I hate when people use the word "we" when it comes to me and like these so-called excursions or, in your case, missions, which is gonna
I
fail.
Everyone else
You,
knows of the mission. No one's told me not to send you on this one yet.
you're like okay.
Explicitly not to do this.
You know the Magic School Bus?
Yep.
I think
Bolt,
from
I
now
believe
radio.
you are the Arnold of this podcast.
Okay, don't you dare insult me. That is one of
Please
the
let
things
this
I've
not be
seen.
another field trip.
I've seen that at least. You dare compare me to Arnold? How dare you, good sir?
You
And
are
that bus is not
Arnold
magic. It's
around
running on plutonium.
You are
It's running
definitely
on
Arnold
plutonium,
around here.
pure plutonium. No, I am not.
You are
Anything on the
definitely
bus.
Arnold.
You had to carry on with this nonsense.
See, there you go. That's something Arnold would say.
No, Arnold would never say that. He would never compare himself to
He
the
would-
ultimate
The thing is,
device.
you don't hang out with
Guffin.
Arnold when the credits roll. All right, that's most likely what Arnold's like. He's probably gets pissed off every day. He goes to Mom, do I have to go? You know what that crazy lady did the other day? We came out of someone's ass.
Arnold would never open his mouth and tell his parents. Otherwise, he would have been out into a different school by the end of the second episode.
His parents probably don't believe him.
And then he'd be the one talking about at my old school.
Yeah, he'd be that guy. He would be that guy.
And again, no one would believe him. Would you believe him?
No, look, okay. If they don't believe him, they'll just ignore him, and then he'll just continue at the status quo. If they do believe him, he's going in a straitjacket. Best case scenario, the kid gets in a straitjacket. Worst case scenario, the teacher is on the run, and she has a magical school bus with children that she's
Well, they did
kidnapped.
get rid of
Who's going to stop her?
Miss
The
Frizzle.
government? Nope. She has hostages now.
They got rid of the original Miss Frizzle
Of
when they revived that show like 10 years ago. Nobody wants to remember that.
course, they revived it. No, I didn't even know that
They
hadn't
got rid of
happened.
Miss Frizzle.
How you revive a show and you kill off? I'm assuming they don't bring back a character that was essential to its runtime. Oh my goodness, we're really out of ideas.
Hold on a minute. He said, I will believe drugs.
In the
What?
drugs he's potentially on.
Oh, me?
I too believe in drugs.
I don't do
They do
drugs.
exist.
They exist, but I am just insane.
No, he's talking about Arnold.
Oh, Arnold.
He's talking about Arnold. Arnold
Arnold's
was
doing
the
drugs now. He couldn't have access to that when he was a kid.
It was
And
the
if he did,
'90s.
it
Of
was
course,
lousy
the child
ass
had access to
Midwest
drugs.
drugs, probably like skunk weed or something.
It gets the job done. Okay.
We
Like,
know.
gets the job done.
Do we know what state the Magic School Bus takes place in?
That's a good question. Let me use my good old friend Google to answer this ridiculous question. Magic School Bus animated series. Okay, here we go.
It sounds like it's supposed to be kind of like regular old middle America. You're right. Yeah, Anytown, USA. Springfield.
hmm
Yeah.
It doesn't really say anytime.
Okay.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
there's no town for that. Their school
That's
is
right.
like the front of the, you know what? It'd be funny. What town would they be in? They're in New York. Miss Frizzle never hits one school bus by accident. Or she never. These kids all don't have Metro cards, and none of them just cut class. Like, oh shit, we're going into Miss Frizzle's class later. Yeah, I'm cutting. I'm out of here. I'm going home. Why? Because last time we went into someone's balls. All right, and I don't want to go do that again. I'm out of here.
Oh wait, so it's Wakerfield. Oh, Wakerville Elementary School.
We don't know where Waverville
It's
is.
in eastern United States.
Yeah. Okay, that helps. I'm gonna say Maryland. You go with Maryland.
Why
Say
Maryland?
Virginia.
Why something else?
Hold
If
on.
I said Maine, why Maine?
No, definitely not Maine. It's like a Maine type of.
If I said
City.
North Carolina, why North Carolina?
I think I would believe North Carolina. Oh wait,
Okay.
hold on. Wait. It's heavily applied to be in Rhode Island,
Oh, okay.
but most people believe it's either located in Oregon or Washington.
Oh, there's some speculation on this. Okay.
Eventually,
Yeah.
then Peter Griffin lives like maybe 2 miles down the road from Miss Frizzle.
Oh, that's
Oh,
crazy.
God. The same universe.
Is Wakerfield a real town on Rhode Island? In Rhode Island, it's a state, so I guess you say in.
Just a viewer, you're 100% correct. It was a magic school bus because these kids were probably dropping magic.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's drug use for education.
Is it?
As long as you learn something.
Learn what? You're on acid.
You could learn
in the
something
middle
on
of a
acid.
school day.
I've never done it, but I suspect that if I did, I would learn something. If only that I should never do acid again.
Or you need to take stronger acid.
Maybe
Do one or the other. But anyways, we
Anyways,
meander enough. We can question the validity of this cherished childhood memory another time.
All right. Well, now that we've ruined one childhood treasure, and we've shat on a Hollywood treasure, Ryan Reynolds.
That guy is not a Hollywood treasure. He's a piece of shit.
I said we shat on him, and I was not expressing any
I mean the royal we, because I had nothing to do with that.
My own sentiments. Yeah.
I said what I said.
Yeah. Then we all said what we said. That could be the conclusion of any podcast ever. We said what we said. It could also be the title of any podcast ever, and maybe that's what we should title this.
Whenever I was supposed to make a comment about fuck Bill Nye, but actually I'm going to go back and rechange this. It's supposed to be Bill Nye can sue this guy. Was that?
We need to work on your branding. We need to work on your branding.
There we go. I said what I said. And I say it again. Fuck Ryan Reynolds. He's not funny.
Yep, that goes every sponsorship, just the viewer. Again.
Well, I think that would that certainly shuts the door on our Mint Mobile sponsorship, because he does the Mint Mobile commercials.
We're not missing out on much.
Sponsorship.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Nor do we want a Mint Mobile sponsorship.
Keep the options open. What we need to do is we need to get sponsors, so we can get into a place where we no longer need sponsors, and then we can take credit for doing something of good character by not taking sponsorships. That's the whole. That's my whole plan here.
Okay. Please let us know when that works. Whereas I've sent Bolt on an infiltration mission, which he has failed at.
You mean failed that? First of all, it literally hasn't even started yet. Also, you can't keep announcing infiltration mission and expect it to be a secret. That's defeats the whole purpose.
Well, I'm not saying where you're supposed to be infiltrating. Now, have I?
You did that at least twice on separate episodes prior to this one. So
No,
don't worry about that.
I
Yes,
did
you
it
did.
before we started airing, and you've done a good job. They gave you a shout out. We're halfway there.
You're just your subtlety. That name is nonsense. All right.
I referred to it as a kind of a house or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, MK Ultra. Anybody ever hear about MK Ultra for real? Has anybody ever read the actual file for MK Ultra?
I know those syllables, but I can't tell you what they are.
Everybody talks to me about MK Ultra, but they never ever actually read the D-Class on MK Ultra.
Oh, okay.
There's a bunch of stuff that other people talk about, or a movie, or something that they saw,
right. Yeah.
but they never actually tell me about it. They just say, "Oh, it's an illegal experiment with mind control," and then everybody keeps talking about it. But nobody talks about the First Earth Battalion. But we can talk about that in the one day when we decide to talk about creepy experiments that were conducted. Because I have a few.
Sure. That sounds good to me.
On that note, this week we talked about evolution. We talked about horrible actors, creepy diseases that are out there that'll kill you. And I actually think we can do this once in a while whenever we find other creepy facts and we just sit down and go over it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bolt?
I'll come back to you after I consult my lawyer for the umpteenth time this week.
Consult your lawyer for what? It's not like you
Many
said
things.
fuck Ryan Reynolds. It's not like it's against the law for any of us to say fuck him.
It's guilt by association.
Yeah, it's not a law. Is there a law that says fuck this guy? I can't say fuck this guy?
Under First Amendment protections, no, there cannot be a law against it, but there could be social consequences.
Echo the
Professional
Dolphin?
consequences.
The heck is... Okay, Judge Severe and me had that conversation. Why are you throwing out terrible game references?
Hold on a minute. What kind of references are they throwing out?
Echo the Dolphin. It's like apparently creepy lore about experimentations. That's like, I think it's part of it, the character's backstory.
Well,
Can't believe that game had like 2 games in this franchise. Like, what is this?
there are things that they do to animals that actually do enhance them, and it's very scary. But I think we could talk about that in a different episode.
Yeah.
I think it's time we do our log out. I believe we've hit everything on this note. Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Cool. And I'm gonna do one more thing because I hate these people too. I'm going
Oh,
to do
jeez.
them as I play us out. So this was the Ghastly Hallows. I was Pumpkin Jack today, accompanied by.
Regretful Bolt.
Hopeful Red.
And
Don't agree with what I know. Tomorrow got no place to be.
I thought you were trying to think of a personal ad.
I see the light.